gentlemen, afternoon and sometime good evening and even night also, depending on your place. Let us start our first program. We can say the first program is related to our uh, global peace. Let's talk and Gandhi Smriti Darshan Samiti, Ministry of Culture, Government of India together. The first program is on a lecture series. Let's practice non-violent communication, which is very important. All over world, wherever we are seeing, everywhere there is some violence going on, violence is going on, and uh, conflict is going on. Every day, if you open some news or TV channel, there is some news related to violence. So this is the right time to discuss on the non-violence communication, how we can go there. And also we have none other than with us Sri Basdev Kundu. Dr. Basdev Kundu is the program officer, uh, GS, GSDS, New Delhi, and he made lot of these kinds of program and a lot of this lecture series. And you can say this is I have done some record. It's a 55 lecture on this particular topic. He is very passionate on this area and a very passionate speaker for this non-violent communication. And I welcome on behalf of everyone from that Global Peace Let's Talk and on behalf of Ministry of Culture. So altogether now I would like to Dr. Nikki Depina, that chairman of Global Peace Let's Talk, chair the session, and I also would like to request Dr. Baldev to start his speech on this very vital topic of today's world. Over to Dr.
Okay.
Kundu.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jayanto. On behalf of Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti, I'm Vedavyas Kundu, I'm the program officer out here. I welcome all of you, and it is such a wonderful day that we are joining hands with the Global Peace Let's Talk, a network of peace practitioners from different countries across the world in this whole session on non-violent communication. So in this particular program, what we will do is I will speak to all of you around 45-50 minutes, and then we can have some interesting discussions and interactions on the issue. In fact, for your information, it is one of the very, very important program of Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti. Gandhi Smriti is the place where the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, was assassinated on 30th January 1948. So the overarching goal of Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti is to promote the life and philosophy of the Mahatma. And as part of that, one of this important program and initiative, which now has got a major global traction, is the whole program on non-violent communication. So as part of this, what I will do is I will start with a PowerPoint presentation for all of you, and we can have some interactions, as I said, towards the end of this session. So I will just start my PowerPoint. 1 second, please. Share. May I ask the participants, Pankaj, is my PowerPoint visible?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir. Yes.
Okay. Well, today's session, as Dr. Jayanto has rightly pointed out, that nonviolent communication is very important, more than ever before, as we find different forms of violence, different forms of areas of dysfunctional communication, which is leading to promotion of intolerance, hatred, uh, racism, xenophobia, so on and so forth, and conflicts of different kinds because of the dysfunctional communication system. In that context, non-violent communication becomes a very, very critical and important part. So I start this presentation with this very powerful quote, because what we want at the end of the day, each one of us, every individuals in this planet Earth, what we are striving for, we are striving for peace, peace which is within ourselves, peace which is in the society, peace within ourselves, peace in the society. And if we have peace within ourselves and peace in the society, that is something very important for our happiness and well-being. So in that context, what Mahatma Gandhi had said, the world will live in peace only when the individuals composing it make up their minds to do so. So friends, unless and until which each of us, every individual, contribute to this culture of peace, there cannot be peace. So it is our responsibility, it is our duty to work, incessantly, to work continuously to make peace happen, to ensure that there is peace. And in that context, we have this very important statement from the UNESCO, UNESCO 2013, and that says that peace should never be taken for granted. It is an ongoing process, a long-term goal which requires constant engineering, vigilance and active participation by all individuals. It is a choice to be made on each situation and everyday life decision to engage in sincere dialogue with other individuals and communities, whether they live a block or a click away. In fact, when we talk of peace, when we think of peace, it is something which is a dynamic concept. It is a dynamic concept. It is something which requires continuous, as it says, a continuous engagement. It is a long-term goal. There cannot be any patchwork. It needs active. Hello, am I not audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay, okay.
I request to the participant kindly mute yourself, sir, please.
So also it says that peace is something we need to ensure that there is active participation by all individuals. It is a choice to be made in each situation, in everyday life decision, to engage in sincere dialogue with every individuals and community. Please see this underlining point: sincere dialogue, engagement, and importance of all these things. So in that context, how can we have sincere dialogue? How can we engage with people? How can we engage with communities? The fulcrum, the pillar is communication. And here lies the importance of communication. As in fact, as a student of communication, if I go to my first class in communication, we will be told the first basic definition: we cannot not communicate. Well, friends, communication is something which is basic to our life, like the food that we take in and the air that we breathe in. What is communication? How, what we think, it starts, the most primitive, most primary form of communication is our thought process, our ideas, and it lends out to our own intrapersonal communication, our self-talk, to the communication with the outside world, or the symbolic communication we might do with, say, other living beings and the nature. Communication is something which can actually lead to a relationship being spoiled, or how it can unite parties to conflict. It can actually help a friend or a stranger to offer abuse or perpetuate hatred and negativity, or it can promote positivity. It can either make us happy or make us suffer. In fact, when I organize this workshop for college or university students, or school students, we have some of these exercises that we do, which we are skipping today. So if we think of communication, it helps mold our realities, our perspectives and emotions. and it makes us feel more connected to each other. In fact, as someone said, that our communication is a reflection of the inner workings of our mind, what we are thinking, what our ideas are. And as I said, it actually originates from the contents of our mind, our thought process. So if our thought process is, there is a dysfunctional thought process, it will get, seen in the outside world. It will get reflected in the outside world, so that there is going to be a problem. So uh, everything that we do, whether we interact with ourselves, whether we interact with the outside world, and how we interact, how we think, our thoughts and ideas, everything depends, everything is guided by this whole notion of the communication ecosystem, which I talk about. So hence, here in this, the challenge today in our contemporary society, everywhere, as we are moving towards, we have gotten ourselves into a materialistic world where we, each one of us, are trying to rush for different materialistic goals, different ways of reaching to our dreams and all. Of course, there are positive things, there are good things, but the whole thing in which we try to browbeat others and things like that, actually all lends to some kind of a, or some kind of a challenge before the modern society, how our communication ecosystem can become a source of positive coexistence and creation of values. So that is something we need to look at. So in that context, this is something which I want to share with you, a very profound quote of Lord Buddha, who says that words have both the power to destroy and heal. When words are both true and kind, they can change the world. Very, very important and profound statement. Similarly, Gandhi says, I object to violence because when it appears to do good, the good is only temporary. The evil it does is permanent. So please let us think in the context of communication. If we are indulging in violent communication, probably we are very angry with a friend or XYZ or ABC, and we are showing our power, our hegemonic relationship with that particular person, and temporarily we might think that we have won over uh, against that particular person. But the problem that it creates, the breakdown of relationships, the breakdown of trust, that is something that can actually be permanent. So actually violence never actually creates something which is good and long term. It is only temporary, very, very shallow kind of a thing which appears. It's just an appearance, nothing reality. In reality, it never helps in doing anything good. So in that context, we go and talk about it, as this is a beautiful book which I read, and I thought I will share with you this important quote by Thai Mazur and Wendy Wood, who says that the words hold power that can be used to instigate or neutralize any given experience. They can be used as weapons, either offense or defense. We need to be aware of the energy that our language, our words hold, and use them for the greater good. So probably in our daily lives, each one of us, if we start reflecting, each one of us starts, a process of self introspection, we will find ourselves that there might be a situation in our life in which we might have used our words, the language, to browbeat the other person, probably to, try to pull the other person down in some way or the other, and we have used it as a weapon of offense. So what kind of energy it emanates, what kind of negativity it emanates, that is something we need to know. It also helps us to self introspect. If we have used that words as offense, whether it has evolved some kind of a positive energy, or it has done any good to us or not. And in most of the cases, if you introspect, you will feel that probably, those kind of words that we have used to, offense the other, or hurt the other person, actually hits us back, actually contributes to our, being stressed out, problematic relationships, so on and so forth. When we are talking about the whole idea of the language that we are using in our everyday life, how we interact with others, how we interact with people, if they're friends or strangers or people in the offices and so on and so forth. Many times it might have come to our mind that the words that we are trying to use, the language that we are trying to use, it is something which is normal. We are trying to, uh, come down heavily on some person whom we probably don't have much respect for. We might think that that is something which is natural, that is normal. But probably, if let us think for a while, let us reflect for a while. Fine, I'm not very happy, say, with XYZ, and I want to share my I want to, share my point of view with her or him. So instead of firing at that particular person, yet I might probably use some words or language in a totally different way and put it, which may not hurt that particular person, yet I am able to put my point of views. So actually that relates to this particular quote of the former American President Abraham Lincoln, who says that we can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorn bushes have rose. How you put things, that is something critical. If you put things with words that hurts, that is not going to lead to a good thing. But probably the same thing, if you use different words, different style, a different approach with a different orientation, then it may not hurt the other person, yet you might end up actually trying to put your own point of views. So that is something, what is the basic foundation of nonviolent communication. It helps us to reframe from the usual way we try to do. I will give you an example which I always give to many of the people with whom we have these workshops. Sometime back, quite a few years back, I was with a very close friend of mine who is actually Dharmacharya, who actually has been working on different aspects of Buddhist philosophy. He was sitting in his home and I was helping him with some work. And you see, he needed a particular courier to be delivered. And he calls up his driver. Well, friends, most of the time, if you're calling up, say, your driver, you will say, please come up and take the courier. No, he said, I hope you are not busy now. The driver must have told him over the phone, no, he is not. So he comes up to his office, and Shantam is his name. And Shantam, generally, if most of us will tell the driver, well, this is the courier parcel and this is the money, and you please go and, give to the courier office. But he did not do. Please think of this particular quote of Abraham Lincoln, how you put your words. Shantam said, well, if you go now, I hope it will not really bother you and it will not really be problematic for you. If you think if it is not problematic and not very problematic for you to go at this hour, I request you to please kindly take this courier. Say, he's talking to his driver. And straight away, the driver says, no, 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 not at all, not at all. There is not going to be problematic for me. And he immediately goes to the take the courier parcel. In this case, if we see clearly, it is just the way we put things, the language, the words that is there. And you are respectful even, to everyone. You are not thinking of that hegemonic relationship, the power relationship between someone who is, the owner of the vehicle and all, and a driver. You are treating everyone equally. You are treating everyone with respect. And when you're using the word key, I hope it would not be problematic for you. May I request you to kindly take the parcel. So you are also, if I have analyzed, when you use such kind of techniques, it actually makes possibly the other person virtually defenseless, like the driver who said, no, 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 not at all. Even he thought at 5:30 in the evening it was his time to go back home. He immediately took the courier parcel and went away. So it is how you put things, that is something we need to learn, so that it actually helps us to connect, actually helps us to respond. It helps us greater engagement with that. And that is the whole idea of non-violent communication, which we are going to talk about today. And with these ideas and things, it establishes the fact why non-violent communication is very, very important in today's world. Because we are used to being you thinking in terms of power, hegemony, in terms of various things that comes to our mind in engaging with people or talking to people. We think that is an usual process, and uh, we feel that other person will listen to us. But most of the time it really doesn't happen, and it can actually lead to conflicts. It can lead to a dysfunctional communication system. And friends, much of the problems that we face, the disputes and things that happens in our lives, in our relationships, is because of the dysfunctional communication ecosystem. And so that establishes the importance of nonviolent communication, and why a nonviolent communication ecosystem is needed for us in every possible way. So now in this section, we will talk on why we need a strong foundation for a nonviolent communication ecosystem. In fact, friends, well, Gandhi Smriti organizers have this very, very successful course on nonviolent communication, online course on nonviolent communication, and it has now got a huge global traction, not just across the country, but also people all across in different universities and colleges across the world contact us to help with this particular course. And more than a lakh people have done this course over the course of the last 1 year. In in that in this context, we talk about the important pillars of the nonviolent communication. And you see, for any building to be strong and sturdy, we need strong pillars. And what are the pillars of nonviolent communication? These are the 5 pillars of Gandhian nonviolence. Very basic, very, very simple, and not very complicated. So let us start with the 5 pillars of Gandhian nonviolence, which are actually the important pillars, the foundation stones of nonviolent communication. And before that, when I talk about nonviolent communication, friends, to me, nonviolent communication is a very, very holistic kind of a communication ecosystem. It not just covers communication between just human to human communication, but also it covers the whole idea of a symbolic communication with the nature and all other living species, living beings. In today's context, is all the more important as we find ourselves in the midst of this pandemic. We find ourselves in the midst of problems of environmental degradation, so on and so forth. And in that context, the importance of human interconnectedness, that is something which is very, very important. I remember reading this beautiful Human Development Report 2020, and it talks about how the Anthropocene, that is the epoch of the human epoch, where human beings are taking charge of everything, and which is really leading to serious problems of environment and climate change. In that context, it actually flags up some red concerns, the dangers of what all we are facing. In that context, I feel when we are talking of non-violent communication, it has to be in the linked to the whole notion of human interconnectedness. That is, we are talking about our nature, human, and all other living beings relationships, our coexistence, and the communication between all needs to have actually portray that. So in that context, respect for all living beings, respect for nature, respect for all human beings. That's something important. In the context of human to human communication, well, friends, much of the problem, if you realize, if we think of, happens because possibly we might not have equal respect for the other person. That is one of the small thing that starts with the whole the problems in relationships, conflicts and disputes. Respect. I will tell you an example in this. Why respect for everyone and equal respect for everyone is important. Mutual respect, because I was taking this session on nonviolent communication for the judicial officers some time back last year, when we were still not in the pandemic era. So one of the senior judges who was chairing the session, she shared with us, with the participants, a very interesting example how a dysfunctional communication, how a breakdown in communication, and importantly, the lack of respect leads to a dispute which blows out of proportion. She was talking about a case going on, a litigation going on between a brother and a sister. And one day she felt that why this whole thing, to understand the go in depth to this, to that particular case, she invited the lady to her chamber to understand and see if there can be some mediation that could happen. And when she said that when she started talking to that lady in depth, what one simple thing which triggered that whole dispute and the litigation was that the lady, who was much older than her brother, she felt that the brother and the sister-in-law probably did not have adequate respect for her. Just see, a simple thing actually triggers, and both of them go to the court, end up in the court. Respect. If we are respectful for each other, then much of the problems will be resolved. And when we have respect, friends, it leads to greater understanding of each other. Sometimes, again, the problem happens because we don't want to understand each other. But if we have respect, and even though we have a different point of views, it helps us to understand each other. And with greater understanding of each other leads to greater acceptance of each other's position. In fact, much of the problems also happens because probably I feel that I am correct, and the other person who is with whom I might have some problem, I feel that other person's position, what she or he is taking, is totally wrong. So it is a problem of ego. It is a problem of something which I feel that I am correct and not the other person. But if I respect the other person, if I'm able to understand the other person, it is much easier to accept the other person's point of view. The fourth pillar of Ghanaian nonviolence is appreciation, positive appreciation. Friends, in the midst of so much of tension, stress, so many of us find ourselves in, somehow there is becomes a lot of negativities around us. There is a lot of negative energies, which is negativities both within, and that actually gets shown up at the external level in our relationships and with our conversation with others. But if we try to look at the positives in our lives, there must be, along with the negatives, there are always positives. And if we are able to discern the positives that are going on in our life, the positive things in the society, positive things in other people, then with positive appreciation, there can be positive energy, and positive energy helps in a healthy relationship. Positive energy helps us overcome much of the stress that we have. So appreciation, positive appreciation, is something very important. And the last is compassion, and compassion is something extremely critical as an element of nonviolent communication, and we will talk of compassion when we discuss the elements of nonviolent communication. Here, what I've tried to put together quickly, I will run through, is a Gandhian model of nonviolent communication, which has been based on writings and readings of writings of Mahatma Gandhi and the work that of his office. I've tried to put together in a few, in few dimensions, important dimensions, the Gandhian model of nonviolent communication, which we at Gandhi Smriti try to talk about. Non-violence in all aspects, verbal, non-verbal thoughts, and how the mind and heart and the body remain disciplined at every stage. Second is importance of non-violent persuasion. Important, non-violent persuasion. Essence of non-verbal symbolism, which aims at encouraging self-introspection and self-discipline. The Ghanaian model of nonviolent communication also encompasses the principles of human interdependence and underlines the importance of the cosmocentric approach to human nature. Reaching the hearts of the masses through constructive work for social and economic emancipation. Constructive work as an important aspect of increasing engagement and reaching out to the masses. Also, it entails the evolution of an individual to a higher plane of values and ethics and respect for human dignity. These are some of the also his communication model, Gandhian communication model, underlines the importance of being morally disciplined, strictly adhering to the principles of ahimsa and truth, meticulous planning, creative and innovative, open and flexible. Well, these are some of the important points, elements which we have tried to cut down from the enormous work of Mahatma Gandhi, the work that he has done and his communication models and how he could interact with the people. So in that context, all these points are equally important and relevant in today's world. And if we try to, imbibe these models and these principles, we will definitely be able to have a better relationships, better engage with people, and at the societal level, if we try to encourage these principles, then we can promote mutual coexistence and harmonious living. And now what we do is, we have talked about why nonviolent communication is needed, the need for nonviolent communication in today's world, the pillars of the nonviolent communication, which are actually the 5 pillars of Gandhian nonviolence. It is important to try to understand what exactly is nonviolent communication in the context of being an explanation. Well, there are a lot of thinkers who have given a lot of interesting explanations, and we have a lot of respect for those explanations and all. But one of the most comprehensive explanation has come is from this very senior Gandhian, Natwar Thakur, who passed away in 2018. He was a very senior Gandhian and working in one of the states of Nagaland in India. And he has this to say on when we are talking of nonviolent communication. In fact, he feels that, in fact, in today's world, when we are talking of literacy, like financial literacy, media literacy, how to develop critical understanding in each of these areas, Natwar Thakurji feels that we need to promote non-violent communication literacy, because there is so much of issues and concerns in the world that today with each one of us at an individual level and a societal level are facing. In that context, we need to have a more critical understanding and critical imbibing of non-violent communication in all aspects of our lives. In that context, he says, to me, non-violent communication literacy would mean how our communication efforts should be non-violent, how our ability and capacity to communicate not only with ourselves but with our family and society be non-violent in all aspects, and overall how the entire process of communication, whether between individuals, groups, communities, and the world at large, should be non-violent in nature. It's a very expansive understanding of non-violent communication which he promotes. He further says that this would entail deep understanding of the art and science of non-violence and its centrality in all our daily actions. It is not just verbal and non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication literacy would also include whether our thoughts and ideas are non-violent or not. Natwar Thakur. So this is a very good, expansive understanding that he tells about nonviolent communication. And now we come to an important area, that is, what are the elements of nonviolent communication. Friends, there are about 12 of them that we have tried to discern, and each one of them are equally important. All of these elements are interconnected, interwoven, and they all contribute towards a non-violent communication ecosystem, which I was telling you on, whether it is at the level of the individual within ourselves or at the level of the family, level of institutions, the society, or the world at large. All of these elements are very, very important. Well, the first element is non-violent communication means complete lack of violence in the way we communicate with others, be it verbal, non-verbal, our thoughts and ideas. In every aspect, we should try to see that we are not violent in how we put things together. We are not using words that are hurting the other person. That is something very, very important. The second most important element of non-violent communication is, constructive self-talk and inner dialogue. In fact, this is a very, very important aspect of non-violent communication, because if our intrapersonal communication entails both the self-talk and inner dialogue, and if our self-talk and inner dialogue are destructive in nature, it will get reflected in our communication with our interactions with the outer world, say with other individuals and other people. So it's so important that our intrapersonal communication is constructive. That is why it is important that peace within oneself. How we do it, in fact, we sometimes in the workshops, many of the universities request us to conduct a workshop totally focused on this, how we promote constructive self-talk and inner dialogue, how we promote peace within ourselves, how our communication with myself, because you see, most important is to be self-aware. We know that we need to be self-aware of our weaknesses, of our strengths, of our fragilities, and also our negativities, the negative emotions, negative ideas, negative energies. If we are self-aware, if we are aware of these kind of issues, then it becomes much easier to handle many of the problems that we might face, and we will be able to ensure that our communication ecosystem that is within us is more constructive in nature. It is non-violent in nature. In fact, I remember having this workshop with students of one of the law universities here. And after we took a session, it was in a physical mode, a whole session we focused on this. And after we had that session, many of the students actually contacted us for further guidance on how they can, inculcate, how they can imbibe this idea of constructive self-talk and inner dialogue. The third element of nonviolent communication is use of appropriate and positive language and expansion of our emotional vocabulary. Well, many times we are not able to, express ourselves properly. We are short of our expressions, and that becomes a problematic thing. Also, we probably sometimes, try to search for what kind of appropriate word or positive language that we can use. In this, I will try to give you an example. Like, we were doing this with another set of judicial officers and lawyers, this particular program. And after a month, when I went back to those people for a feedback, so the president of the bar association over there, he said that, you see, generally many times advocates and lawyers are used to using aggressive techniques in front of the bench to make their arguments. Our idea was that we can make the same point in a totally different way, which is not aggressive. So, in fact, the president of the Bar Association said that when we started using this whole strategy of nonviolent communication, he was able to put his point of views in a much better way than he was doing before, that is, the aggressive stances. So, We must try to expand our emotional vocabulary. We must try to see what kind of positive language we are using. Here at this point, let me tell you, when we are talking of nonviolent communication and the use of nonviolent communication in our daily lives, you see, there cannot be any formula that I can give you that A plus B equals to C or 1 plus 1 equals to 2. There cannot be any formula. It has to come from within. We need to promise ourselves, we need to be sure that we are using non-violent communication. No one can tell me. It has to have a deep commitment from ourselves that we want to use strategies of non-violent communication in every aspects of our lives, and in that way we can actually do it. And also, it cannot be a one-day process. Well, I've come for the workshop and from tomorrow I will be using it. No, it comes after practice. It comes through different experiences. It comes through different ways of interacting with people. So that is something which I thought needs to be pointed out here. This very important, very powerful quote of Desmond Tutu: language is very powerful. Language does not describe quality. Language creates the reality it describes. We should try to take responsibility of our action, words, and feelings and not blame others for this. Very profound statement. The next important element of nonviolent communication is avoidance of stereotypes. Friends, again, many times, because of different forms of cultural stereotyping in terms of races, in terms of class, in terms of religion, so on and so forth, we get entrapped into this stereotyping communication, and that leads to a breakdown in communication, that leads to a problematic thing. So we should constantly, it should be a constant endeavor on how we should get out of this trap of stereotyping. And that is something very, very important. Next important element of nonviolent communication is the power of empathy. In fact, I remember in 2008, probably, the former American President Barack Obama uh, said that there seems to be an empathy deficit in the world. In fact, as we are going through this pandemic, the whole idea of empathy is so important in today's life. How we can put ourselves in the shoes of others, try to discern uh, the problems that the other person is facing. Empathetic connections, developing empathetic connections is the key and the need of the hour. Well, empathy, we are all, if you look at child and how the child grows up and all, like, we will be able to understand that empathy has been an characteristics which is imbibed in us. It is only because of the outer environment that probably we start losing the skills of empathy or use the skills of empathy. So the challenge for all of us is how we can use the different tools of empathy, how we can increase our skills of empathy to reach out to others, engage with others. Next important, another altruistic tendency is compassion. Compassion, how we can understand the sufferings of others. Another equally important, like empathy. If we are compassionate, we can know why the other person is going through, why the other person probably is behaving in that particular manner. So compassion is another important element of nonviolent communication. Flexibility and openness in our communication. Well, again, much of the problems or dysfunctional communication happens because we are not flexible. I have to say that, and that is the end of it. I'm not ready to listen to the other person. But if we are flexible, if we are open, then even in the worst situation of having a completely, totally different kind of a viewpoint from the other person, we will be able to keep the channels of our communication open. Friends, one of the important aspects when we are talking of the resolution of the conflicts is that to ensure that the channels of communication remain open. So in that context, being flexible and open is something very important traits that we need to practice. Another important altruistic tendency is the gratitude. How we can thank each one of us during the course of the day, there are so many people, there may be so many incidents, so many ways in which we benefit from the other person. Do we have that feeling to express gratitude, thanking the other person for that? It's such an important element of nonviolent communication. In fact, if you see all these altruistic tendencies like empathy, compassion, gratitude, these are all linked to the neurosciences of the brain, and there are various psychological tests, studies that has been done, and it shows that the more we express gratitude, the more empathetic we are, the more compassionate we are, we can overcome our stress, we can get out of our stress. It contributes to our well-being. So how in our communication we can bring in all these elements is something a challenge for every individuals here. Connecting with needs of others. Many times, disputes happen if we are not able to, discern why that particular person is behaving in such manner. We are not able to understand, and because of that we start having problems with that person. But if we are able to go to the depth on what particular need of that particular person is unmet, because of which she or he might be behaving in that particular way, much of the problems we are able to overcome. So in our important aspect of our communication strategy, especially when we are having a difference of opinion or problematic relationship with the other person, is that to try and uncover, unearth what is that particular needs because of which that particular person is behaving. That's something very important. The next important element of nonviolent communication is active and deep listening. Uh, Again, and very important skill that we need to learn, we need to, you know imbibe, because much of, again, in today's world we find that probably we are losing that power of to listen. If we are listening to the other person, then we are developing a relationship, because the other person feels that we are listening to that particular person. In fact, listening helps us to grow. Listening in a group situation helps the whole group to evolve as a team. So active and deep listening skills are so important. The last two elements of nonviolent communication: avoidance of moralistic judgments. You know, most of us, you see in a classroom situations, some student have not done well, and the teacher will say, okay, you are totally useless, you have no use, you can never do good mathematics. Straight away we try to jump into conclusions. And when we are talking of judgmental communication, in fact, very beautifully put together this whole aspect of nonviolent communication, Moralistic Judgments by Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. If you read his book, The Nonviolent Communication and Language of Life, beautifully put together. Moralistic judgment, as Dr. Marshall Rosenberg says, is life alienating communication, life alienating principles. It actually demotivates the other person. So that is again a very, very problematic thing. Avoidance of negative evaluative language. Say for instance, in the pandemic, many of us were at the homes. Say for instance, the sister is cleaning the house, and the brother is lazing around in the sofa. So the sister yells at him and says that, why, you lazy bum, you can't do anything, I am doing every work. So the brother hits back, who are you to question me like that? But probably the sister says that, well, I know, brother, last night you were working, you were taking these online lectures and all, and I'm sure you are very tired. I'm sure the next time when I'm cleaning the house, you are definitely going to help me in the house. The whole scenario changes, and we are not evaluative. We are trying to, pop up the other person, motivate the other person. So negative evaluative language or moralistic judgments, these are all elements which actually, demotivate. So how we avoid them is an important aspects. So friends, we now come to the last strand of this whole presentation. We have talked about the need for nonviolent communication. Then we try to understand what exactly is nonviolent communication. Then we delved on the important elements of nonviolent communication. And now in this final strand, let us try to understand how it helps us. When we are adhering to those 5 pillars of Gandhian nonviolence, we are promoting positivity in our lives and and it helps us in avoiding many disputes and differences that may crop up in our lives. Also, when we are practicing nonviolent communication, we are helping in trying to manage our negative communication, because when we have negative thoughts and ideas, we are not able to focus. It is disruptive and drains our energy. Anger management, extremely critical. How we are able to channelize our anger constructively and avoid stressful situations. When we are using nonviolent communication, it helps us to practice that. You see, all those altruistic tendencies of nonviolent communication that we talked about, empathy, compassion, gratitude, actually all these leads to a pro-social behavior. And pro-social behavior is more than contemporary society. And how it helps? It helps in emotional bridge building. It helps in strengthening and deepening of connections, reaching out to communities. It helps in promoting the spirit of volunteerism and acts of giving. So that has to be an overarching goal of our social structure, how we can promote pro-social behavior in our communities. Overcoming of stress, because when we are indulging in healthy communication, it is like a stress buster. In fact, in this context, let me tell you, like, say for instance, if you recollect, if you try to recall the last time you had a very difficult or a very fight with, say, your brother or sister or a friend or xyz, and that was an unhealthy communication, please think how it affected you. Possibly at the spot of the moment, you were very happy that you yelled at that person. You had a bitter fight with that person. But probably while you are trying to retire to bed and you are trying to recollect on what happened, you might think you are stressed. You feel stressed out. You probably would think that possibly if I would not have fought like that, if I would not have used those kind of language, then I would not have ended up in such a bitter fight with that particular person. Things could have been more positive, and I would not have been so much of stressed like I feel now. So that is something very important. Of course, when we are using nonviolent communication, we are encouraging dialogues, and promotion of meaningful dialogues help in contribution to the cohesion and harmonious coexistence. Most important also in today's context, in the context of a family, in the context of any institutions or a community at large, team building, how we work as a team, how there can be a spirit of solidarity amongst the team members, greater trust among team members, and development of empathetic relationships. Because when we are talking of team building, it entails a communication ecosystem, and if it is non-violent in nature, we will be able to nurture a positive team building experience, friends. So we end this session today as we move towards the question and answers and interactive session. I end with these two beautiful quotes and profound statement. One by Dr. Martin Luther King, who says we must learn to live together as brothers or we will perish together as fools. This, again, definitely a very, very powerful expression of nonviolent communication. As he was moving out of the prison after 27 years in jail, what Dr. Nelson Mandela had to say. As I walked out of the door towards a gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I will still be in prison. The essence of reconciliation, the essence of forgiveness, that is so important and integral part of our communication process, which is non-violent in nature. So finally, this is our free online course that we are offering on nonviolent communication. It will give you a very basic introductory understanding to the whole idea of non-violent communication. Friends, so this is the end of the presentation, and now it would be so great if we can have some interesting interactive session. So I would request everyone, those who want to speak, to kindly unmute yourself and please share your point of views. Well, there are some quite a number of questions that have come. It seems. Let me
Not
just.
only question, these are all appreciation for you. So they are
Okay.
moved with your presentation. And few asking about the PPT, whether you will give the PPT or not for
Yes,
the.
yes. PPT, I think we can give. I think we should give the
Yeah.
PPT. No issues for that.
And and rest of the things they are very moved and they are, want to apply your thought on nonviolent communication in their day-to-day life. But apart from that, if you have all the good words are coming for that. And
Yeah.
now anybody have any question, they can unmute yourself and they can ask the question.
I don't have a question. I don't have a question, but I would like to say that it was absolutely phenomenal. It was touching, it was real, and it was healing. Thank you, Dr. Vedabas. You come in from a very different angle here because you are really speaking from your heart, and you are speaking from a place that you really believe in, and that's coming across so strong. Thank you so much. You have definitely touched my heart. And I have learned, I have definitely of things I'm going to take back home with me. And then I have another question. And I'm
Yes,
sorry
please.
it was just 1 hour. It would have been great to be 2 hours because
No, we
there's
can
so much
continue.
more to learn.
No, you, ma'am, you can. We can have some sessions. No, obviously, I thought one should not go on and talking. It is always very important if we have some views and ideas from the participants, and then
Yes.
we reflect back. So, if anyone have
Yes.
any reflections which you want me to do, I will be so happy to do that. So, this was just the lecture, but then it would be so important that if any one of you would love to come up with some of your own observations and ideas, and then we reflect back, because we should make it, try to make it as interactive as possible. So my humble request to the participants would be that if anyone would like to come up with any of their own observations, please.
Good evening, sir. Can I ask one question, please?
Yes. Can you please kindly introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, definitely. I'm Dr. Preeti Sharma. I'm assistant professor at Asian Law College, Noida. And sir,
Okay.
this orientation course, it was very good. First, I did it myself. Then
Mhm.
I also prepared one PPT. All definitely, it was not as good as yours, sir. But yes, I tried my level best. And
Mhm.
I tried to I tried talking to my students. I did
Mhm.
that workshop and I
Mhm.
introduced this orientation course to them through this workshop. And the
Yes.
students were very much interested, and I asked them to submit the reflection exercise. And
Mhm.
many of them have submitted and they have received the certificate also, and they are so happy, so happy. But
In,
after
in
setting
fact,
up
ma'am,
the
that is
workshop,
a question that I and my technical associate, Mr. Pankaj, who is hosting Asian
yeah,
College of Law, we were trying to understand and analyze. There is such a huge response on how you came
yes,
to know about the course, and A,
yes, sir.
and B, ma'am, number of law universities have now contacted us, and they,
Yeah,
in fact, we are supposed to do a workshop with a particular law university, where they want us to talk
yeah,
on how we are going to incorporate non-violent communication in the
not,
study of law and
okay,
legal research. And also, ma'am,
yeah,
for your information, we have been
yeah,
conducting this workshop for various national law universities, and this
okay.
judicial thing which I was telling, our focus of
Mhm,
my workshop with the judicial officers have been on how we
mhm,
use non-violent communication for meaningful interaction
mhm,
between the bar and the bench. So we are talking about judicial empathy and compassion in the law, the whole idea of restorative justice practices, and jurisprudence, non-violence jurisprudence, for your information. And these are some of the aspects that we generally have the session with the judicial officers. So it would be
Yes, I
great if
think
we
it
can.
was there. Yes, sir. Definitely. And sir, I think it was there in the module also. I also read it. Initially,
Yes, ma'am.
it was
It
written
would be
that.
great if we somehow we can have include say non-violent communication in some aspects of your curriculum. That is what we are
Yes, sir.
looking at.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. So
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to personally have a contact. So I'll mail you and then I'll try to have a contact so that my students, they gain a lot from this.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
sure.
We are actually conducting a faculty development program in the faculty development program of one of the law universities. They have asked us to totally focus on the whole idea of integration of nonviolent communication in the legal studies and legal research.
Okay, so definitely. And I will also be a part of it. I'll try to
Definitely.
be part of it. Yeah,
Fine,
sure.
ma'am.
Sure.
Fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hello, sir.
Hello, please.
Hello, sir. I am SS Venkateshwar from Andaman Nicobar Island.
Yes, please. How are you, Mr. Venkateshwara?
I am fine, sir. Sir, I want to put one question, that can this non-communication courses may be introduced to the student of 9th and 10th college or student?
Yes. Actually, this thing, this whole course on non-violent communication that we are sharing, it has also been included by the Central Board of Secondary Education. It is there in their website, and through the Central Board of Secondary Education, I think that more than 75,000 participants, both teachers, students, and principals, have done this course. So it is freely available in our website, also in the Central Board of Secondary Education website. So
For the students, sir, for student.
Yes, for the students, please. Yes,
okay.
Yes,
okay.
please. Yes,
Thank you,
yes.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm Rashmi Rohira from Noida,
Yes,
Delhi,
ma'am.
NCR. So in the evening, I think in the afternoon only, I just saw a mail on my mail ID, and I was wondering that how come I am receiving this mail. So I just joined this workshop just as a curiosity. But when I started hearing you, I started reviewing the PPT and the content which you have included. I find this session very amazing. Like I have already completed that course, I think 1 or 2 years back, this
Okay, ma'am.
non-violence course from Government of India website only.
Mhm.
That time also I was very curious and inquisitive, like what exactly I'm going to learn after doing this course. But yes, I have learned was the practicality, how we can actually include this non-violence communication in our daily life. So that was really helpful, and it is so amazing to see the mail of uh, joining the webinar session. And I was so curious that how I am getting this mail, because before that I never got this kind of mail that you have to join the webinar. But I'm so happy, like, please, if keep me in the loop whenever you are conducting such kind of webinar. This time maybe by mistake I have got this mail and I joined this session of yours. But I really say thank you to you all those who have actually invited me for joining this webinar. It's wonderful. It's wonderful, and you did a great job, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much. Yes, please. Anyone else would like to share their views? Yes, please.
Sir, just one request. I'm Rashmi.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, could you please show me the first 2 slides of your presentation? I would like to see that, because when I turned on the computer, there was some glitch, so I didn't saw the first 2 slides.
Okay. 1 second. Just if you'll have to give me a minute for that.
Yeah. Take your time, sir.
One second.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, this is Antara this side. Professionally,
please.
I am advocate at the High Court.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I did your course, which was conducted very well as the session was also very informative and very well
Yes,
conducted. And
yes, ma'am.
I mean, after doing this course, not only me, I just gave this information to my family, my friends also, that see what is non-violent communication is, how to adopt it in our day-to-day life. So it was so helpful. It was so good that I can't tell you. So I just want to tell that if any kind of such session is going to be held by your side, kindly
That's
just mail me.
that's right.
Yeah. So it was very informative.
In fact, as I share, as I mentioned to you, madam, that in fact I remember doing this session with the judicial officers and also the lawyers
Y-
in the Saket District Court here in Delhi, and
Okay.
I was actually sharing with you the perspective of the president of the bar association, who
Yeah,
the
yeah,
local
yeah,
bar
yeah.
at
Yeah,
that time. Yeah.
yeah.
So we have been continuously working in this aspect with lawyers and prosecutors and the judicial officers, and of course the students of law that is there.
Yeah. So
That's right.
I think in this COVID phase, most of them have become so violent, I think. So it's very helpful for each and everyone. I think each and everyone should go opt for this course and should not only opt, should also use it in their day-to-day life.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. Each one of us should try to strive to see how much. Obviously, it can't be an utopia. It will be an utopian thing to say that 100% I can use all these elements, or it is
Yeah, yeah.
impossible as a human being, but at least something we should try to imbibe in
Exactly,
some way or the
exactly.
other. That's
Yeah,
right.
very,
That's
very
right.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, any other question, please?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Good evening, sir. This is Anshul Sharma.
Yes, please.
Yeah. What I want to ask is this course on non-violent communication, which is being conducted by Gandhi Smriti. Is it available for everybody, like irrespective of age group,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
there is
It is.
some qualification required?
No, ma'am. It is there for everyone. In fact, for your information, ma'am, it is available in our website. It is available in MyGov.
Yes.
It is also available in the website of the Central Board of Secondary Education. It is in our website. It is available in English, Hindi, Tamil, and Malayalam. Also, for your information, internationally, we are doing this workshop with very large number of universities and colleges. It has
Okay,
been
sir.
translated into Swahili, the local African, one of our friends in Uganda did it, and he conducted this workshop for them. Also, we got a very huge number of people doing from Kyrgyzstan. And we, in fact, with Kyrgyzstan, with one of the universities, we had a series of 5 lectures on different dimensions of nonviolent communication, and all their students did it in Kyrgyz language, so it was translated into Kyrgyz language. In fact, we are now
Okay,
very
sir.
shortly going to start with other Central Asian countries in probably next month. Yeah,
Okay, sir. Okay.
that's right.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
qualification would not be an issue for
No,
anybody
no,
to
no.
do
It
the
is an
course.
introductory, introduction to nonviolent communication, some basic
And
introduction to
is there any
nonviolent.
advanced course for this? Sorry to interrupt you.
Ma'am, at this stage, there isn't. But what we are doing is we are trying to work like one of the universities in Indonesia. They have is going to start a international course on conflict transformation and peace building. So it is going to be part of that. What we are trying to do it now is make it an integral part of different disciplines, say mass communication. So we are
Okay,
working
sir.
with one of the universities in Bangladesh, and they recently, from June 11 to 14, they set up a virtual exhibition as part of their curriculum integration program. So in all their disciplines of mass communication, like advertising, documentaries, filmmaking, poster making, they try to integrate different elements of nonviolent communication. Similarly, we are working with the law universities. Again, we are trying to work, say, with the teacher education process. So how in teacher education we need to introduce non-violent communication. So it is because communication is something which is very basic. So how we use the tools and techniques of non-violent communication is something we need, is basically doing that. So like that.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Regards.
Fine, ma'am. Fine, ma'am. Yes, please.
Antaraji, if you could kindly give your email ID. You said you wanted to be connected with on email. So if you could kindly share your email ID.
Yeah. My mail ID is AJHA 646@gmail.com.
Thank you so much.
Fine, ma'am.
Okay.
Fine. Any other insight, please, before we possibly I think
Hello.
hello, ma'am.
Good evening, sir. This is Jyoti, PhD student from Banastali Vidyapeeth, and I'm very glad and happy that once again I'm able to hear you about speaking about the non-violent communication. And I had done the orientation course designed by Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti, and I would like to share that it was a very practical course, and the matter was written in a very lucid and easy manners. And it had helped me a lot in dealing with my personal problems as well. So I would like everyone to just, if you haven't done this course, you must done this course on nonviolent communication, because it may seem, or it may one may can easily say that it is very easy, respect, understand, and accept, appreciate, and have compassion. But when you try to follow all these things in your personal life, you will realize that it will require much patience and uh, uh, like like more of compassionate behavior, as sir was telling us in the presentation. So like from we can start from a small step to a greater step by practicing all these 5 elements of non-violent communication, and these are really very helpful. Thank you so much, Vedavyas sir and Gandhi Smriti Darshan, for organizing it.
Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have
Hello.
various. Hello.
Bedabas ji.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Patrick is there. Patrick. Hello, Patrick.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for this webinar. I'll also ask a question. How can I use this my community once we are missing the water, the potable water? We do not have the water here in Congo. My community usually miss the water. How can I use the non-violent communication to ask the water to the authority? Thank you.
Well, Patrick, there seems to be some problem with your work. Can you switch off your video so that when you speak in the audio, it becomes very clear? Because it seems there is some problem. I could not exactly hear you. Yes, now you can please ask your question. I think it will be much clearer this time.
Okay.
Yes, now it
Thank
is
you
clear.
very much.
Now it is clear. Please go ahead.
Okay, it's only a question about the lesson of today.
Yes, please.
Can you hear me? Okay. My community will usually miss the water, the potable water. My community is missing the potable. Yes, with the potable water. I am asking you to know, how can I use the non-violent communication to ask for this for my community?
You see, of course, these are because non-violent communication is not just meant for individuals. We have to go and try to make it an established practice as an ecosystem in the families, in the institutions, and in the communities at large. Well, much of the problems, as you were saying, mentioned, talking about water. Water is something which actually the scarcity or inadequacy of water at the community level leads to lot of conflicts, lot of disputes. Of course, that is there. But when at the community level, we are able to reach out and try to handle them, all these problems constructively using the tools and strategies of nonviolent communication. Say, Mr. A and Mr. B, they are fighting because they don't have water. There is a problem of water. So how we can resolve that dispute? Of course, there is limited water, say 1 liter of water, and Mr. A is fighting for that and Mr. B is fighting. How we can use these tools and strategies of non-violent communication for both of them to try understand that nothing much will happen if they are not able to happen if they continue to fight with that limited supply of water, because then one will win and one will lose, and it will lead or trigger to a greater conflict. But the whole thing is that how we can use that limited water constructively, how we can use that limited water so that everyone in the community gets almost equal amount, so that no one left out. So the importance of non-violent communication to be used by the community leaders to keep engaged with the people who might be at dispute is a challenge, is something they need to use. And I'm sure when we use it over a period of time, the community elders or the community leaders, they will make the people in dispute who are fighting over the problems of water understand the position, because we can't get, say, 100 liters of water straight away. We probably have to live with, say, 50 liters of water. So how we can distribute them equally without getting into conflict is something which we need to negotiate and counter that challenge. And I think non-violent communication is a perfect answer on how we can resolve that whole dispute constructively.
Right, sir, right.
Anyone else, please? So possibly, I think, as there may not be more questions.
Just a thought, actually, Vedaji, just a thought here.
Yes, please.
I mean, you spoke about conflicts in relationships, you spoke about conflicts in mind. I mean, like perhaps sometime back when we were organizing a webinar, a similar webinar, one of the international speakers had said that conflict is not in relationship, it's not in the mind. It's like he also perhaps went on saying, like, if if like we do, both of us do not need to change to resolve the conflict. If either I or you change how we think, the conflict cannot continue. It's just an observation I thought of sharing, basically.
No, but you see, conflicts, you see, the thoughts, the whole problem starts from our thought processes. That is the primary form of communication. If I think, I will start browbeat the other, as Patrick had talked about the dispute of water. If I think, I will not let that fellow take more water today. I will take all the water, and I will try to snatch away the small amount of water that he or she might get. Then actually that is emanating from our mind. And all these problems once it emanates from our mind, it gets reflected on how we engage with the other person. And that's why the second important element of nonviolent communication, the constructive self-talk and inner dialogue, becomes very critical. Self-awareness becomes very critical. If we are able to overcome that aspects, that negative tendencies, we will be able to do much better, possibly.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel probably there may not be any other observations and questions. Then probably Dr. Jayanto, we could wind up.
Yeah.
Yes. Before we go wind up, may I request Dr. Nikki Depina, chairperson, Global Peace Let's Talk from London, UK, to tell a few words before I make the conclusion. Nikki, are you there?
Thank you. Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Dr. Jayanti. And firstly, thank you to everyone that made the time to attend. Your feedback is of tremendous value, and we appreciate your support. And then thank you to Dr. Jayanti for organizing the event. And then obviously, thank you, Dr. Vedabas. It was extremely inspiring. I am certain that each one of us is going home with a lesson and something that we can make work on to improve our communication. So my sincerest appreciation to everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And nothing to say as a conclusion, because all the feedback has already reached to the chat box, and all the participants present here, they are immensely satisfied and happy. And yeah, of course, from that, this is also a new area for me as a first lecture, and I'm just listening. I mean, we used to give a talk here and there, but it's wonderful to listening and a new area, non-violent communication, rather, non-violent communication. And I mean, rightly you have made the thought that all our problems starting with this practicing of non-violent communication. If we can practice this non-violent communication from today onward, then there are a lot of problems can be solved. It's not necessarily the problem of the country, problem of our entire planet, but even our family problem, but even our problem with our colleagues, problem with our neighborhood and other is a very, very important. And non-violent communication, it's a required practice itself. So your presentation is very, very eye-opener for all of us. And obviously, it's just a tip of the iceberg. You have just touched the thing. There are many more things, because Gandhian thought and how we have lucidly present. Now it's look like Gandhi for each and every children, Gandhi for each and everywhere. It's a required. And we are very happy to be here today. And all the arrangement, all the credit, the entire team who are working behind that, the entire team from Gandhi Smriti Darshan Samiti, we are thankful to them also. I'm lucky to coordinate and moderate the entire program. And really is a just beginning, not only for the beginning for us, not beginning for the Global Peace Let's Talk, but also for me it's a beginning. And next week, next Saturday, we have a program in our institution with you, and jointly we are going to organize National Institute of Rural Development at Panchayati Raj Northeastern Regional Center and Gandhi Smriti Darshan Samiti, that voluntarism in rural development, which is also very important. And we would like to request all of you, please join with us in another fabulous workshop, e-workshop. Together we are going to learn. And with this, thank you, Dr. Vedabas Kundu, and excellent speech, rather we are speechless in that. And all the words came from your heart. And really, I believe that as you are so passionate, that you are also practicing in day-to-day life. I'm sure your family and your whoever your colleagues, they are also lucky to get you as a practitioner of non-violent communication. And we will try to follow some of your thoughts so that we can be a peaceful life, because peace is the end of any development parameter, whatever you like. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and people are asking
Dr.
for.
Jayanti?
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just ask the participants please to add your comments, because we're going to post them on Global Peace Let's Talk's Facebook page. So if you'd like to share with us, we'd be appreciating that very much. Thank you.
And all of you who are present here from the institution, already Google Form has given for your feedback. And don't ask the certificate right now. Definitely it will come to you. Let them give some time. You just fill up this form. Definitely your email IDs and everything is there. Certificate will reach to you. So with this, thank you. And
Thank you.
anything would like to conclude, Dr. Bedavas?
No, fine. It was great talking to every one of you, and I'm sure we will be working together further. Thanks to Nikki ma'am. But we are not able to see Nikki ma'am at all. That is
Yes,
the thing. So ma'am is a very senior person from the United Kingdom, and so thanks to each one of you. From the bottom of our heart, we thank everyone for joining this session today. Thank you.
Sir, can we take a selfie for, may I request to kindly on your video, sir? Can you
Yes,
take a
please.
selfie, sir?
My small request to everyone, if they kindly switch on their videos so that Mr.